Yeah.
Hello and
I mean,
welcome to this. Okay, Siddharth's still getting his gear in place, but hi, welcome to Friday morning, which has started off with a bang. Today is, of course, Guru Purab, as we know, and the Prime Minister announced that he was going to be addressing the nation at 9 a.m. Now, whenever the Prime Minister announces he's going to be addressing the nation, it sends a flurry of expectations across all quarters because nobody is quite certain what he will have to share or say. Well, today was a blockbuster address. He went ahead and said that all the three farm laws will be repealed. Remember, these were enacted a year ago in Parliament. And as usual, there's been a huge uproar over it. There are people who have varied opinions on the same. I certainly have an opinion on it, and I've tweeted it and been trolled by the right and the left and everybody in between. And that's okay, but I think it was a tough decision, and it was a decision that the Prime Minister had to make, keeping in view various factors. And one of them, of course, was a very significant factor, which was the infiltration of Khalistani elements in the protests and the seeding of the idea of Khalistan. And that I think played a big part in this decision. And the Prime Minister more or less said it in his address when he said that he had to put the nation's interests first. I'm joined by Siddharth Singh, of course, senior lawyer, I'm going to say, journalist. We all feel like lawyers nowadays, don't we, Siddharth, on Twitter? We're,
yeah.
we're all defending our positions and arguing our points. I think we could all have been lawyers, frankly. But Siddharth, you, of course, wrote this amazing piece a couple of months ago, maybe even a year ago now, on traveling through Punjab. Do you recall?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
That was
know,
in February. Yeah.
that was in Feb this year, yeah. And
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
kind of tracking the protests and the impact they were having on the ground. So do you want to just take us back to that piece that you did and what you observed?
So, I'll focus. I'll look at it in this way that when the protests began last year, they were led by a bunch of relatively well-off farmers in Punjab, and then because the way rural society works, everyone gets involved in those kinds of protests, even those people who probably don't have don't agree with those kinds of protests. But finally, yes, one has to agree that there was a by and large a widespread support for these protests. This support was largely economic in the sense that the central government has been spending a large amount of money every year for the past almost 45 years by undertaking assured procurement of wheat and rice from Punjab, and of course from Haryana also, and UP, and now increasingly Madhya Pradesh also. But Punjab has been the main beneficiary of this, so to say, this munificence of the central government. Uh, so these farmers felt that in case these laws are brought in, probably that system is going to end.
Mm-hmm.
Now, no amount of reassurance from the Prime Minister himself down to mm, everyone, this system is not going to support. It cut no ice. Uh,
Hmm.
and the sad part of the protest was that there was no rational argument about what these laws are for, how Punjab stands to benefit from them, how these laws are meant for farmers of the entire country, and they are not specific to Punjab, and they are not meant to derail the system that works in Punjab, Haryana, and Western UP. But that cut no
Right.
ice over a period of time, and some of these signs were very evident as early as February last year when I had traveled through
Mm-hmm.
Punjab, that uh, from a purely economic issue, it was turning into some kind of identity and
Yes.
religious political issue as well. Um, Now that's a complicated story that you may not see symptoms of that overtly, but by February there was plenty of evidence that things were moving along those lines, especially after the Republic Day, uh, you know, um, protest or whatever you want to call it, or disruption. Uh,
Hmm.
Now, in the last 5 to 8 months, that sentiment has grown stronger. And
Yes.
it has grown stronger to the point that uh, the two issues are now seen as being identical, that it's no longer a farming issue. It is viewed as
Hmm.
something of a quote unquote Sikh issue. While
Yeah.
if you look at the laws, they're meant for the entire country. There was nothing specific for Punjab or for Sikh
Hmm.
farmers or for, you know. And then over a period of time, for example, the incident in Lakhimpur Kheri,
Hmm.
then the entry of these kinds of volatile elements and secessionist elements into the protest, it just
Hmm.
hardened that kind of sentiment.
Right. Right.
Now, so
So, I
that's
mean,
where
where
it
did
stands.
this protest sort of being infiltrated, and I use the term infiltrated, by these elements, and the attempt to kind of make this, like you rightly said, a, sort of a religious issue as opposed to one that was about laws. I need to mention here that these laws, Siddharth, have been suggested by all political parties, right?
Yes,
They are
in
not unique to
and
the BJP.
across the, yeah, they're across the board. The Congress, in fact, in its manifesto to the general 2019 general election, had a chapter on these laws, that how the party would actually bring in these reforms.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. So I mean, at this point of time, it is a we've seen this turmoil also in not in Uttar Pradesh, but yes, in parts of Uttar Pradesh, in Western Uttar Pradesh specifically, where there have been protests. Lakhimpur Kheri, of course, was a disgraceful incident, wherein this intensified
Yeah.
these aspects of it. But coming to Punjab and the sort of political turmoil there that we also see, and recently there has been this back and forth between the center and the state about the BSF and extending their sort of patrolling area in the border state. There has been a lot of resistance to that as well. So, how does all of this tie into the ambience these protests created because of these elements that entered?
Okay,
Siddharth,
so
yeah.
I would look at the BSF issue slightly from a administrative point of view. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you, Siddharth.
Hello. Yeah,
You're
yeah. Okay.
audible. You're
So I
audible.
would look at the BSF. Okay, so I
Hmm.
would look at the BSF issue slightly differently. Now that again is not an issue specific to Punjab. Various states are affected by it. Assam is another state where has been extended. West Bengal also. In some other states like Gujarat, it has been reduced. Now, this decision is an administrative decision dealing with national security. It has got nothing to do with Punjab per se. But the kind of politics and the political climate that you see in Punjab, that anything that is done by the central government is latched on and protests and held as some kind of anti-Punjab sentiment or anti-Punjab action. If you look at Chief Minister Amarinder Singh and what he had to say about the security situation, he's mentioned it so many times that a number of drone incursions from the Pakistani side are a very real issue. And if you go
Hmm. Hmm.
to that belt in northern Punjab towards Gurdaspur and you come towards Amritsar, many of those parts are geographically inaccessible. Probably the state police does not have that kind of wherewithal to carry on those kinds of uh, you know close inspections in those bordering villages, and so the BSF is there to aid that authority. It is not there to take over the functions of the state police. It has been clarified so many times. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
but uh, this issue has been seized by politicians, which is an election mode, and where it is used to say that the
Hmm.
center is somehow turning against Punjab. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Hmm. 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 And what do you make of this political
So,
ramifications of it? Some professor Siddharth, can you hear me clearly? Oh, great. Mohan has joined us as well. Mohan Sinha is, of course, a veteran journalist who doesn't ever come on YouTube, but we have managed to tempt him here with this, or rather, the issue has tempted him here. And I have been pursuing him for a long, long time to come on YouTube. So thank you for joining us, Mohan. Mohan, you've also been kind of referring to this Khalistan aspect of Mohan. You need to unmute yourself. Yeah. Oh, no, wait. Mohan needs to unmute himself. My producer, can I ask you to unmute Mohan? Okay, Mohan, you're unmuted.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
hear you. It's very low.
Oh, can you hear me now?
No, very low. And the sound is there because I'm on iPhone, so I don't know whether there's a problem there.
No, I think Siddharth, you can hear me fine, right? Siddharth, you can hear me fine, right? I don't know what's going on. Mohan, go ahead and speak because we can hear you fine, and I'll increase my volume. Go ahead and tell us. Go ahead and speak. You know, you've also been commenting on this on social media through the day,
No,
so
no,
please go
commenting
ahead.
on social media is one thing, but speaking here on a public platform. But the thing is, I get the feeling that this whole all these laws, I don't know whether they're really permeated to the right to the bottom, to the last man.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
Otherwise I don't think this would have happened. And because finally, it's for the MPs, the MLA, right on the Gram Panchayat level, people should have Mr. Modi should have been able to convince his people to convince the farmers, to convince the people there in the field that this is good for them. I don't know whether they've managed to do that because somebody
But
messaged me earlier on Twitter saying that I think the whole broke, the Arthias kind of, the whole movement got a little too much for them, for the government.
hmm.
That's why they kind of backed down. But
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know whether really that's the truth. Because you're
But
dealing
Mohan,
with a government here. It's not a
but
small
Mohan
time
also,
thing.
yeah. But also, I mean, when you say that it wasn't communicated effectively, you also, if you look at the protests, they were centered around the Punjab and the Western UP region. The rest of the country, the farmers didn't protest these laws. So, to
Yeah,
a
but
certain
no,
extent, if you were going to look at it macro, you'd say that yes, I mean, to a large extent, the communication did work because the majority of farmers across the country didn't have a problem with this.
how many farmers did you hear around the country who said, yes, this is good? In, Around the country, how many of them did you really hear them come out there? The thing is, there were lots of protests against the laws. How many times did you see a movement for these laws by the government? It should have been on the other side too.
Yeah,
If the
that's true.
if the government claimed that the majority were happy with it, then the government should have gone ahead and done what it had to do with the majority, and made it a
Hmm.
public movement that look, we are happy with these laws, we don't believe in this. But they didn't do anything, and they just allowed this thing to be hijacked by these guys. Then of course the politicians came in when they found a chance to uh, make a little capital here. And the government, I think, just, and then secondly, when the protests began in really, it got violent, the government didn't do anything. They just sat back and let it happen. They should have cracked down right then, and they let it happen, and then it got out of
But
hand.
yeah, but that is something Abhijit, of course, is, as you know, a regular on the show, and he speaks of this often. That when it comes to protests, the government, be it the anti-CEA protests or even this one, has kind of been on the back foot. They have let things just happen, and sat back and watched. On the other hand, this is a democracy, right? So people can protest, they can have their issues, and that's their democratic right to do so, but as long as it goes on in a peaceful manner.
Republic Day wasn't peaceful, was it?
No, it was not
What
peaceful.
happened?
Neither was.
Republic Day wasn't people. Then what happened after that? Nothing happened.
In
The
fact, there were
point, you
rewards.
didn't
I
crack
believe.
down. The violence, see, the protests began all around the streets of Delhi, and all this bullshit happened over there. Tractors. The government just didn't do anything. They should have completely, I remember that, do you remember when the Congress was in power, and that when this whole Anna Hazare's movement was there, and
Mm,
this, when the Congress government just cracked down within 24 hours, and Baba
mm,
Ramdev
mm.
was caught in a salwar kameez running away from the venue.
Oh, right, the
Just
anti-corruption
overnight,
movement.
they just overnight they came in, threw the whole lot out, and that was the end of it. I
Mm, mm,
understand,
mm,
right? Protests are, as a is everybody's right, but not when it gets out of hand. And the
mm,
government
mm,
didn't do anything. They just let it happen. They just let it drift, and it drifted and just got worse and worse and worse. And then we all know, uh, you know, all these people from outside came in, and all this mess happened. And it's unfortunate
mm,
that they
mm.
allowed it to
And
happen.
and the global ramifications as well,
Yes,
this
yes,
moved into like international spaces,
yes,
and before you came in, Siddharth was talking about the anatomy of this protest. It started off as an economic issue. Let me also remind our viewers that every political party has had this in their manifestos. So, and I
yes.
think you
Strangely,
said that as well in your tweet. And Siddharth was discussing the anatomy. He did a marvelous piece in February last year where he traveled through Punjab and tracked the impact of the protests on the ground there. And he was saying that this shifted from being an economic protest to taking on socio-religious colors, and then oppression narrative, majoritarian narrative, etc., taking over. As a result, you saw these radical elements kind of get into action, and the whole like Khalistani idea getting seeded into this.
yeah, it's true. I mean, again, very unfortunate that the government just sat quiet and let it happen. They should have done something about it. They didn't. They just let it drift, and it just increased.
Hmm, hmm.
That's. I mean, I'm sure he's a better person to talk of this, Siddharth. I'm sure he.
No, we already did. I
Please,
mean, we already
It's
did discuss.
it's
Yeah,
very
Siddharth, go ahead.
unfortunate. I mean, what, like you said, like I said, in my tweet, all the three farm laws were there in the manifestos of all the political parties. But the minute the BJP got it, they realized that this was a vote winner, and they decided to oppose it. And then the government again did nothing. They just allowed these things to drift. This is where I fault Modi in a lot of things. He allowed things to drift. I mean, Indira Gandhi
Hmm,
was a master at it, allowing things to drift. And, and
hmm,
then, but unfortunately, times have changed. And
hmm,
Mr. Modi has to understand that unlike Indira Gandhi, who had a section of people opposing her, there's a whole lot of people who are opposing him.
hmm,
There's a
hmm.
whole lot of people opposing Mr. Modi, not just domestically but internationally too.
Yes.
So he's going to be on the back foot all the time. He just can't afford to sit down and say, okay, हम देखेंगे क्या होता है. Rajiv Gandhi sir, हम ये
Hmm,
देखना है. तो ये देखना है नहीं
hmm,
चलेगा. He has to take on, literally take the bull by the horns if he's got to do something. He can't sit back and say, okay, चलिए, let them protest. No, he can't.
hmm,
Otherwise, this now what's going to happen? Now the next thing is going to be CA. Already, I saw some journalists tweeting, maybe we should look at the CA, explore the CA again. Really? Yeah, everything will start on 370. Will start. CA will start. Now they've got a handle. They will use it, and they will flog it because they
hmm.
realize now that this government can be pulled down. I just hope Mr. Modi is not, like other politicians. But this is what they will use against him now at every step.
What about you, Siddharth? Do you agree with this perspective, or do you think, on the other hand, that with elections coming up in Punjab and in Western UP, the BJP has done something of a masterstroke, as some are calling it, and blunted the opposition's attack? Because the opposition, part of their attack strategy in the upcoming elections was going to be the farm law protests, and the fact that the government and the farmers had not come to any kind of resolution, and it's been nearly a year now. So they were going to attack the government on that. Now there's no room for that attack. I think Siddharth's having some serious issues with his internet. So Mohan, I'll put that question back at you. What do you think? I mean, do you think that that's something that?
No,
No, I think.
I got it.
Okay, I think Siddharth.
Sorry,
Siddharth,
go on,
here.
go on,
Go ahead.
go on, go on. Yeah, go on.
Siddharth, you can switch off your video also. Maybe that'll improve your connection.
Yeah. So I would know. Okay. Okay. Let me just try and do that.
Yeah, yeah, we can hear you now clearly. Go ahead, Siddharth.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes, we can
Go
hear
ahead.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I not go into a master stroke kind of a argument that that.
Okay, I think we're having trouble, but Sushant Sareen has responded to my tweet right now. Basically, he's saying Khalistanis are basically Pakistani touts. Farm laws is just an excuse. They will find another. This isn't ending here. As for farmers, and he puts that in apostrophes, brace for more blackmail. The Dacoits smell blood. They will now push harder. So that's pretty harsh words coming in from Sushant Sareen, who is, of course, as you know, a geopolitical expert and tracks this extremely closely. Yes, go ahead, Siddharth. You're back with us. I don't think this is working with
Hear me
Siddharth.
now?
Mohan, go ahead. Hello.
No, I think you can hear us now.
अच्छा सिद्धार्थ, थोड़ा आप हिंदी में भी बोलिए। कुछ लोग
Hello.
पूछ रहे हैं कि हम हिंदी में भी थोड़ी बातचीत करें, तो थोड़ा बात यही सवाल था मेरा कि कुछ लोग कह रहे हैं कि अब जो ऑपोजिशन पार्टीज थी, अब यूपी और पंजाब इलेक्शन आ रहे हैं, उनको लगा कि ये फार्मर्स लॉ प्रोटेस्ट ऑपोजिशन स्ट्रैटेजी है, और अब ये जो रिपील हो गया है इसकी वजह से वो ऑपोजिशन स्ट्रैटेजी ठंडी पड़ जाएगी। आपका इसमें क्या कहना है?
देखिए ये बहुत जल्दी होगी इस बात को, मतलब ये अभी चुनाव थोड़ा सा आगे हैं, ये तो शायद आने वाले 10-15 दिन में ही पता चलेगा कि इसका नतीजा क्या होगा। हाँ, ये है कि सारे राजनीतिक दल अपना कुछ ना कुछ वो चुनावी आंकलन करते हैं और उसके हिसाब से ही डिसीजन लेते हैं। ये एक चीज है, पर इस मुद्दे को मैं बनाम राष्ट्र पे नहीं देखना चाहूंगा। ये दोनों चीजें जुड़ी हैं और इनको ये कहना कि ये चुनावी उससे ही जो मेरे ख्याल से वो मुझे लगता नहीं है कि वो उचित बात है। बाकी रही बात ये जो आपने बोला कि ये मुद्दा जो है शायद ठंडा पड़ जाएगा, हो सकता है। ये इसमें कोई मतलब इसे रूल आउट नहीं करना चाहिए, लेकिन जिसमें इसको वो कहते हैं कि सेकंड ऑर्डर और थर्ड ऑर्डर इफेक्ट्स जो होते हैं, जैसे अभी थोड़ी देर पहले इसके कहते हैं बोला नहीं ये तो एक गिमिक है, हम तो आंदोलन को जारी रखेंगे तब तक जब तक एमएसपी लॉ ना लाया जाए। अब वो कुछ ना कुछ तो मतलब उसको वो जो प्राइम मिनिस्टर का जो स्टेप है, जो इसको लॉज को विड्रॉ किया गया, उसको काउंटर करने के लिए कुछ ना कुछ तो करेंगे। प्रॉब्लम वहां आएगी, मतलब वो चीजों का आकलन करना, उनको एस्टिमेट करना शायद अभी
it's I guess it's too premature now to be able to tell or say whether this will be work in that direction or not. However, Captain Amarinder Singh, Mohan, came out with I heard his interview on national TV, and he said that this was a great thing that happened. He was personally delighted. I'm paraphrasing Captain Amarinder Singh, and his whole take was that. One second. Saurabh, can you just mute, please? Huh. So Captain Amarinder Singh, he kind of He kind of said that he's delighted by this, and now BJP and him can have some sort of seat sharing arrangement and go into the elections in Punjab with the mandate or whatever
Yeah,
the push to win.
yeah,
Now,
yeah. Because
how realistic is that?
yeah, I think it's good because everybody. I think most of us understand and realize that Amarinder Singh was literally pushed out by Rahul Gandhi.
Hmm.
He was
Right.
pushed out. I mean, let's see. I mean, whatever, however good or bad he was doing there, he was literally pushed out by Rahul Gandhi and Sidhu. And I'm sure he will remind people of that in Punjab. And with the BJP, with him, I think it would be a lot better for him
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
his condition, his precondition was that they withdraw the laws, and they've done that.
Yeah, but do you
And he's
think? Do you?
always been known as a person who's kind of stood up for what is right. And being an army
Hmm.
man, he's always worried about what happens on the border.
Yeah.
And I think that and the BJP has said that it's a sensitive state, so we can't fool around with it. So I think this
Hmm.
would help him in a way. And
Hmm.
really, the with the farm laws gone, the AAP and the Congress are really on the back foot now.
Hmm.
Their
Hmm.
whole focus was on this farm laws. It's gone. It's over now.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
how much they'll be able to sustain this, their campaign in Punjab on this, I don't know. I think
Hmm.
and Amrinder is liked in Punjab.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's liked.
He is like.
He's a gentleman. He's liked. So a lot of people might still prefer him to Sidhu or
Hmm. Hmm.
the rest of them who are there. And
Hmm.
I have very low opinion of Aam Aadmi Party, so I don't want to say anything.
No, that's. I mean that
I don't even
that's.
want to say. I don't even want to say what I think of Aam Aadmi Party.
No, but the captain is definitely popular, and
Yeah,
he has a lot of sympathy with him because for a veteran politician who's been chief minister on more
yeah.
than one occasion, is closing in on his 80th year.
He's not
To
just
be
that. He's been
ousted,
in the Congress Party for how many years? How many decades?
I think
And you
50,
push
I
this
think
man
five
out
decades.
for no reason at all. Just because you
Hmm.
wanted to please this Sidhu guy,
Hmm.
and you pushed him, you literally threw him out. You forced him to kind of take a step he didn't want to do. So the sympathy, I hope at least the sympathy factor will go with him this time.
Hmm. So that, what do you think? What captain's the impression that he has on the ground there in Punjab? Oh, Siddharth has a terrible connection. This is such a pity. We can't hear him at all.
So we were
Yeah, we
talking
can't
of
hear him.
UP earlier. We were talking of UP
Huh.
earlier before.
Yeah.
I don't think this farm laws is going to make much of an impact in UP. Okay, this you
Western
can believe
UP. Western
media,
UP.
you can believe sections of the media, you can believe Akhilesh Yadav's tom tomming, but can you guys get me? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, we can
I
get you.
don't think it's going to have that much of an effect in UP because Yogi has been doing a lot of work in UP, and that's what's going to matter in the end.
I think
I
UP also,
I
it
really
was
don't think. Sorry.
UP also, it was the Western UP part. It
Yeah,
wasn't
but
UP
now
in
that's over,
general.
right? Now that's
Hmm.
over, right?
Hmm.
Now
Hmm.
the Western UP, whatever impact of the farm laws is going to be, that's done now, done and dusted. Now you can flog it, but how much will it is it going to work? And
Yeah.
if as we say that okay, let's believe that no, the farm laws, yes, it permitted the lowest person there, and it really helped the poor farmer. Then the poor farmer is going to vote for the BJP anyway. Even if the farm laws are withdrawn, they may still vote for it because it helped them.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
as a chief minister, Yogi has been doing a damn good job. I've got friends, journalist friends in UP who've told me he's doing a damn good job and he's kept everybody in line.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. And I
I
think
really
his
don't know
biggest
how much farm laws are going to affect UP. UP elections.
I mean, they were always only going to affect us a part of UP, which was the
Yeah,
Western UP belt.
yeah,
And now that they have been repealed, then one has to see whether that impact is going to play out. I did
yeah,
see some farmers from Western UP saying that we don't have a problem with Yogi and Modi, but we
yeah.
want these farm laws repealed. And if they are repealed, then it's all good. That's all
I
we have
haven't
to say on this
understood
issue.
yet why did they want it repealed. I mean, if the same laws that all the politicians wanted finally, what was the what was so bad about it? I mean, I'm trying. I've been reading and I've been trying to understand what
Hmm.
was the bad thing about the farm laws. It was the same
No,
law
I
that
think
everybody had.
I know that everybody was suggesting, but I think also, do you think it's sort of a chemistry issue as well?
Had
In the sense that BJP doesn't necessarily have that good relationship.
yeah, but
It's a go at it alone
then again,
party.
it's a matter of
And
communication. Then they have not been able to communicate well to the to the lowest man, to the right to the bottom.
yeah, yeah,
Like
and
I
also
said, finally, right up to the gram panchayat level, it was for the BJP leadership, the hierarchy, to convince everybody right to the last man, ki boss, this is good for you guys. If they haven't done that, then the fault is entirely of the top leadership, that it hasn't permitted to the bottom. And
hmm,
Mr. Modi may be a great captain, but as I say in cricket, a captain is only as good as his team.
hmm, hmm,
So
hmm,
really, I mean, how good his MPs are, how good his leadership is, I mean, rather how good his the lower rung of his leadership is, I mean, has been proved by this, because they haven't been
hmm,
able to convince the farmers,
hmm, hmm,
and they've
hmm,
allowed the rich ones, the brokers, to kind of uh,
hmm,
take over this protest, literally hijack it.
hmm.
So
And I mean, the other thing is that there is this celebratory fire coming from the opposition, which is quite normal, I guess. uh, that this is going to dent Modi, and you asked why were these parties against the farmers protests, I mean farm laws, when they themselves have it on their
yeah,
manifestos. And part of it is basically because it's an attack on Modi, it's an opportunity to attack Modi, and
exactly.
more than anything else. And now this sort of step back and this repealing of these laws have given them a handle, as some people are saying, to strengthen their attacks on him.
Yeah, I'm saying the
Kind of
same thing, that
defect.
now what's going to happen is that they've got a stick to beat him with, literally. They've got
But then,
now every bill, every act that was made is going to now they've realized that this could succeed. So now the same model will be replicated elsewhere. Now,
But Mohan, there was the land acquisition bill also of 2015, which was also something that the government stepped back from. And of course, it did not reach this level of protest and international, write-ups and all of that becoming a global thing, and all kinds of elements getting into it. But certainly, I mean, it's not the first time that the government has stepped back and said that, okay, this is not something that we want to go ahead with.
no,
Do
no,
you?
those no, 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 no. See, this was something very huge. The government staked its reputation on this bill to a large extent. It's huge, and they had been talking about it a lot, and suddenly they passed it. Yeah, they kept saying that, well, it was a Congress bill, we passed it. Fine, fair enough. But
Hmm.
they staked a lot on their reputation on this, and this is a kind of a setback to them. There's no doubt about it. It's a setback that
Hmm.
they have to step back,
Hmm.
and pull it out. And my only worry is that now the other things will also come up with this. There will be protests, and that's where like Mr. Modi is a very smart politician, a very canny politician. So I hope he's learned his lesson here, that he's not going to sit
Hmm.
back and let things drift.
Yeah.
Because uh, Kashmir, there is violence in Kashmir, of course. They say it's not as much as it was earlier, but who knows? It,
Hmm.
it can increase, and the opposition politician has seen now that by instigating the people of the
Hmm.
state, it can work, it can be done. So
Hmm.
who knows? Who knows what they will
I
do?
just want to come in here and say this is a live viewer show. This is the hub. Of course, we're joined with by experts. But if you would like to come on the show, like come on screen and join the discussion, then please ping me on Twitter, and we will send you a live link in the DMs. So then you can join the show through that live link and be on screen with us. So please go ahead and do that. Also, I want to just say that uh, don't you're welcome. All opinions are welcome, pro, against, for, whatever, wherever you stand, but just no abuse, and a little more like analysis and thought-provoking commentary would be
Where's
something that
Abhijit?
we would greatly appreciate. Abhijit, I messaged him, but I think he may be out around town. So we will keep
He's a,
trying to
he's a
message
star of
people.
your show. Where is he?
Yeah, he's my star, my starlight. He hasn't come today, but he has, of course, tweeted. And Abhijit has a certain take on all of these things. He expects the government to come down very hard on certain issues, and when they don't, and these kind of things happen, then along with everyone else, I think Abhijit is also crowing right now. He's in a good place. But I I think there has been a certain amount of bonhomie, and I want to know historically, Mohan, since you've tracked politics for decades yourself, has there been an occasion when a prime minister has actually come on and apologized and
No.
said, "Look, I made a mistake. Let's take this back." Has there ever been that occasion?
Since 71, I haven't heard a prime minister get up there and say, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
In fact, I
yeah,
have very rarely heard a politician come up there and say, I'm sorry.
true, true.
I
It's
haven't heard a prime minister make a
hmm,
nationally televised broadcast to say, I'm sorry for what happened. I haven't. It requires guts for a man to do that, to
hmm,
accept that, okay, I made a mistake. Well, he didn't say he I don't think he said he made a mistake. He said, I'm sorry. We tried to convince people we couldn't. So we're withdrawing the bill.
yeah, yeah.
I don't remember him saying that I made a mistake. He said, I'm sorry for what happened. We tried to convince people to do something. We were trying to do something. It didn't work. So, well,
Hmm,
I'm sorry. But I have
hmm,
not heard a prime minister in my living memory have heard a prime minister saying, I'm sorry for anything.
hmm. Yeah,
Maybe Indira Gandhi did say that after the emergency that, yeah, well, maybe in hindsight, I wouldn't have done it.
hmm,
But
yeah.
beyond that, I don't remember a prime minister saying sorry for anything till today. So, which is quite a rare occurrence for a. Obviously, I mean, Mr. Modi has thought this over. What the future action could be. The future could be
Yeah,
in this. He's thought it over and realized that maybe it's better to, what they say, it's better to lose a battle than win, and then win the war. So
yeah.
who knows? I mean, it could be that.
I think
It
I
could be
think
that that
there is had uh someone saying, please don't say it's master stroke. No one's saying it's a master stroke,
no,
but
no,
I
no.
think had Captain Amarinder Singh, who has been for 5 decades an opposition leader, right? Had he not been talking about the national security issue when it comes to Punjab for the last so many months, even before he quit the Congress, not months, actually years, if you think about it, and the kind of increase in drone attacks and things like that, one may have thought that the government is kind of spinning this national security angle and doing all of that. But the fact that it has come from someone who was in charge of the state and looks at this very seriously and actually now sees an opportunity. And frankly, an ex-army man being at the helm, who appreciates what the forces do, has an understanding of their thinking and the ramifications of their actions, might be exactly what the state needs from that perspective.
I have a feeling they have probably got more dope on this.
Yeah.
This whole national security thing, I don't know, and all these Khalistani elements who were probably
Hmm.
infiltrating this whole protest. I think they
Hmm.
probably have more on this, and I think we will see more of this as the elections near, as now in future. and probably once if Amarinder Singh and uh,
Hmm.
the Prime Minister get together, I think probably once the campaigning start, you'll probably hear more about why the Prime Minister withdrew the bill, probably because of this whole
Yeah, I don't. Yes,
the Pakistani angle may come in here.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think they're done. I don't think they're done
No, I
talking
don't
about
think they're
this.
done.
I don't
I
think
think
they're done.
there's a lot more coming now with this, and probably
Yeah.
as we get nearer to the elections, you will hear a lot more about why the Prime Minister did this.
Hmm.
And I think
Hmm.
it'll be kind of circling around this whole national security and this Khalistani
Hmm.
element and Pakistani hand. It will happen
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
definitely.
No, I absolutely agree because and the other thing that you must have noticed is that Prime Minister Modi's supporters are also very upset with him today. So there's a lot of that going on as well, wherein
Oh
people
yeah.
are truly. I mean, I would say it's genuine. I wouldn't say that it's manufactured outrage. I would say it's genuine. Certainly,
No,
a
no.
lot of people. Hmm,
The problem with the Prime Minister Modi's supporters is that they expect him to be right every time, and
yeah.
they expect him to literally take the danda to the. It's in politics you can't do that. There are times that you have to watch and very carefully what you do. You just can't yeah, I understand. Everybody wants Mr. Modi supporters all want what do you say, a Hindu Rashtra in that sense. They all want that
Hmm,
for sure. We all do, but it's it's a dream. It's going to
hmm,
be very
hmm.
difficult to accomplish. I mean,
No, no. I mean,
no.
this.
My point is, they all want him to be, proactive all the time. It's not easy. It's not easy for a prime minister to be proactive all the time. It's
Apart
not.
from, I think apart from being proactive, I think just the complexity of running this country and the
Yeah.
different agendas and the fragile fault lines, as well as this underlying secessionist sentiment that exists in many parts of the country, makes it very complicated.
See, what has happened now is that Mr. Modi, right from the time he's come in, this whole, agenda that's built around him, that he's dictatorial, he's authoritarian, has been drilled into this country's psyche right from 2014. Now the problem with Mr. Modi, I think, finds it difficult to be dictatorial, authoritarian, because he's probably worried that, you know, it might have a backlash. And
Hmm.
you notice, it's like I remember Rajiv Gandhi when he became prime
Hmm.
minister. This whole movement to call him Mr. Clean.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
destroyed the poor chap. Yeah,
yeah.
he kind of found it so hard to live up to that epithet, that sobriquet, that he kind of virtually died trying to live up to that image of Mr. Clean. He just couldn't. He collapsed under the weight. The same thing
Hmm.
in Mr. Modi. The thing is, it has been drilled in all around the world that he is an authoritarian, dictatorial man, and he's now probably doesn't want to do anything that will make him dictatorial. Unfortunately, his followers want him to be that.
No, but
I
see,
also
yeah,
joke
yeah.
about it
The thing
sometimes.
is,
Where
the
I also joke about it. Where is the dictator? I say, on Twitter, around, where is the dictator? When
I agree with you. His supporters, some of his supporters want him to be dictatorial, and the media and the left ecosystem that runs it expects him to be dictatorial and is always
yeah.
projecting him as dictatorial, but he isn't. So I think that's the kind of strange
It's
situation.
surprising. He's not dictatorial. That is the strange part about the man. He he's so democratic that I wonder sometimes what the hell we vote for. Yeah, we voted for a man
No,
who
I
was
think it
in
also has
authority,
to
and
do.
you crack the whip. He doesn't. I
It
mean,
also has to do
this
with his.
again. This whole thing about him being anti-Muslim. He's not. I mean, what we have seen from him in Gujarat, rather after he became prime minister after he left Gujarat, is that he has done a lot for the Muslims. But the problem is that the PR machinery against him is so good that now everybody thinks that Modi hates Muslims.
Hmm,
So come
hmm.
what may, they will not vote for him, and that that again, the opposition has successfully managed to do that.
Hmm.
They have
Hmm.
managed to
Hmm.
kind of convince the minority population that, boss, this man is trouble for
Hmm.
you, don't vote for him.
Hmm.
Again,
Hmm.
unfortunate. There may be a section
And
of them who will vote for him, yes, but there is a majority who will not, because they've been
you will
convinced
not.
that this man is not good. And that's a sad
Yeah.
part, because I haven't seen him doing anything against the minority community. He's
No,
gone
but
out of his way and helped them. You know.
yeah, but but a lot of the surround sound around him and people affiliated,
Yeah.
is like that. It is
Yeah.
very kind of anti.
Yeah.
So
Right.
can you blame the minority
No.
community for feeling this way to a
The,
certain extent?
with friends like that, you don't need enemies. No, that's the case with Mr.
Yeah,
Modi. He's
yeah,
got MPs who are big mouths, motor mouths, who talk rubbish in public,
absolutely,
and of course,
absolutely.
it's great for it's great PR for a lot of people who want it. Especially the Twitterati is so happy with those kind of comments, but it
Yeah.
doesn't help his image,
No, and
unfortunately,
it's also
and
a
it's
quick,
sad.
I think it's also a quick career jump, where the moment
Yeah,
you say something reactionary like this,
yeah.
you get people to bolster you and support you,
He
and then
hasn't,
that.
and another thing is, he hasn't been able to control that. He hasn't been able to tell people, "Ki, look, why don't you shut up? Apna muh band
Hmm,
rakhiye." You know,
hmm,
they
hmm,
continue to do it. That's
hmm,
you
hmm.
know that
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised there. Again, we talk of a dictatorial leader. I mean, he should have been the first one to crack the whip on these guys and say, if you open your mouth and talk nonsense, I'll have you removed. But that's not happening. They're still there, and they still continue to
Hmm,
talk rubbish,
hmm, hmm.
which goes against him
No,
in
no,
the long run.
and I think also, I want to, since you're a senior journalist, I want to really talk about the government's communication strategy. We saw this a lot happening in 2012, 2011 with the UPA, where they, despite having such a good relationship with the media and the national media, and always, even today, they do find their support from those quarters. Their communication strategy completely broke down, and there was a lot of resentment on the ground against them. Now the BJP does not have a traditionally good relationship with powerful media. There are now, today, in today's time and age, there are sections of the media that do support the government and do kind of have this ideology alignment with them. However, there is mostly what is perceived by the media fraternity is a confrontational attitude between this government and the media. And various aspects to it. Of course, part of it is that the favor or the gravy train part of it.
Yeah,
The other
that's it.
is
No, no, he has stopped.
electability.
He has completely stopped. You know, uh, stopped them from entering. Literally shut the door on their face.
Hmm.
See, earlier, journalists could walk into ministries, and MPs and ministers, and talk to them, and they were like, we all know
Hmm.
of journalists and the
Hmm.
closeness to ministers and leaders. Mr.
Yeah.
Modi has stopped that completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's upsetting to them. It's literally, sorry to use the word, it's really pissing them off that they're
It
not
is.
able
It is.
to they're not able to get across to him. And I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
Barkha was the one who said that, had one who once said that we've our access to the ministries has completely stopped.
Hmm.
Earlier we could
Hmm.
get information. I mean, I had some of my students who were reporters in the in the government, who said that, sir, we can't communicate. There is no way we can meet the minister.
Hmm. Hmm.
We've
Hmm.
just It says, we have to take 3 appointments, and then they will think about it. Otherwise, we just
Yeah.
don't have. There's no way that we can communicate with the minister, because we don't have access anymore.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So that's the
Yes,
problem. And at
I
times,
think that's
in a
problematic.
way, it's good. In a way, it's good. But at times, you need to open up, which this
You
government doesn't
need
do.
to have,
And
yeah,
now,
you need to have lines of communication that
correct,
are
you need to keep
open
it open.
and
There are
interaction.
times that you need to communicate your way through, but it's everything happens from the top. The Prime
Hmm.
Minister's office was the one who decides everything in this government. Now, When if that's the move, if that's what I've been told, that everything is decided by the PMO finally. If that's going to be the move, then how you going to function? Then the media is obviously going to be confrontationalist.
And we're joined by Dipankar.
Hi,
Professor, thank you
hello.
so much for joining us. We've kind of pushed into your lunch, but it's a big news day. This is a big issue. You're laughing. Did you see this coming? I mean, the farm laws being repealed. You look like you expected it.
Uh, in a matter of speaking, I did. I mean, possibly not a total repeal, possibly some major modification, but even then, I knew the trajectory that the farmers' agitation had taken made it very clear that this was not going to end till the farm laws were repealed, and it was going to take a very ugly shape. I think, as Professor Siddharth Singh already pointed out, in Punjab, and we live close to Punjab. I'm active on social media. The turn that it had taken out there was a communal turn. It was there was elements of Khalistan in that in the public dialogue. In my interaction, it had become poisonous. Now, my thing is the following. I mean, you could still have farm reforms without these farm laws, but they would not be the best farm laws. For example, I've been basically telling people, when Sunil Jain, he had once tweeted, procure from each state in proportion to their production. And I said that this is a bad idea. It's not the best policy. You can do better, because at the end of the day, you have to basically procure according to marketable surpluses. But if the economics or the market is not going to be allowed to work, then you do take up administrative steps. So how do you transform India's farm sector into a productive sector, one that basically goes easy on natural resources? Because what this does is allow Punjab to keep on growing rice, and the water table keeps on going down. The farmers get on deeper and deeper into debt, and the Arthiyas are the ones who continue to keep on making money. This particular policy only benefits the Arthiyas. Now, okay, you have not let the market work. You have not let other market players come to procure, so that crop diversification could take place, so that Punjab farmers could grow something else. The other way of doing it is basically to make procurement in proportion to a state's production in agriculture. Look, the other thing that Mohan Sinha have been talking about, Abhijit Iyer Mitra had been talking about, was the following. When the government announced this policy, apart from that, you should have also gone out to the streets at every level to tell people what the policy was all about. So when there was a mobilization by the Arthiyas, there should have been a counter mobilization by farmers who would be in favor of this bill. That's always problematic. Why is it problematic? Because those who are about to be benefited are not yet being benefited, so they don't know. But those whose interests are getting hurt know fully well that their interests are getting hurt, so they will always be far more enthusiastic. And I believe crucial moments were lost. This should have been done very, very early on. Once you lose time, now if you counter mobilize, it will look like majoritarian mobilization against a minority. So under those circumstances, this, I think, was the best policy that the government chose. It is not necessarily a good policy, but it is the best policy. But I think still nothing is lost yet.
Professor, but what you're saying right now indicates a certain level of complacency in the government.
No, I don't think it indicates a complacency. One thing, Mohan Sinha talked about the centralized nature of the decision making in the government. Apparently the PMO's office decides who will communicate, who will not. I think I'll qualify this. For example, if you have a Nitin Gadkari, a super efficient minister, he communicates all the time, and given his seniority, of course, in the party and other things, and given his undoubted efficiency, he is allowed to communicate. Nobody can tell him, no, this is not cleared by the Prime Minister's office. Because let's face it, he is a responsible person. He speaks sense anyway. But that kind of efficiency or that kind of credibility or power other ministers may not have. So Tomar Saab may not have the kind of credibility, weight, heft that Nitin Gadkari could have. And so the question is, so when it comes to communication, he would be hampered. Secondly, as Mohan Sinha just pointed out, should have gone to the grass levels. So it was not just a government communication, it's also a party communication, telling
Hmm.
grassroots farmers, look, this is in your favor. This is in
Yeah.
your favor. They are, of course,
Yeah.
hampered by the fact that today we have opposition which acts as the tyranny's opposition. They will propose nothing, they will oppose everything. Their only goal is to turn out Modi. So, as we've all spoken, repeated ad nauseum, every party was in support of these laws in 2019. They are all opposing it now. But that's politics. What shames me greatly, that economists I admired, economists who are famous in their own right internationally, who also supported these particular laws, are also opposing these laws. They're finding out, you know, vague, strange economic arguments to oppose it. And
True.
that saddens me, because it shows that you've actually sold yourself, not for power or wealth. You've sold yourself to basically ingratiate yourself with political parties that you support. And I think nothing can be a greater testimony to the fall of these social scientists and these economists.
Yeah. You're not going to
Yeah.
name them, I assume.
I could, but I mean, look at Twitter, yeah. You
Even
can
Yeah.
look at
even
Twitter.
Chetan Bhagat wrote in favor of the farm laws. So
Yeah. Now you have taxi drivers telling Bengali economists in New York that's a bad thing. Mat karo isko. And the Bengali economist keeps on reporting it ad nauseum, ad infinitum, etc. So given the fact that his Punjabi taxi drivers in New York are informing our economists, to change their persuasion, persuading them to do otherwise, there's not much you can do about it. I am told Punjabi taxi drivers can be very persuasive, especially in New York. The New York cabbie and
and
who's a
nowadays
Punjabi,
comedian and
it can be
nowadays
a deadly
comedians too.
combination.
And nowadays comedians too.
Comedians too. Oh yes, 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 yes. Comedians too.
They're given slips of
You
paper
see,
and they can
with
read in public. So
and Pawn Stars. Remember, this is a deadly combination. Given this combination, there's not much you can do. But as I argue, this has to be taken at a political level. I think if the BJP wants it, they can convert this into a political opportunity by going to every state and saying that the opposition is the one that has thwarted the small farmers. Because remember, at the end of the day, procurement basically is only for a minority of farmers. It may have spread, but it is still a minuscule minority of farmers. The bulk of the farmers have to be A, persuaded to tell you what the formulas were, and B, tell them who opposed it. So I think there is opportunity yet for the BJP government, for the BJP party to do a lot about it. But I
and I
think,
think
given what was going on,
in UP now, I think this is what they should do. UP and then leading up
yes.
to the other elections, they should start it
Oh,
now.
yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. They should start it now. They should start it now. And, they can do it, by the way. They are so well organized at the Panna level. So this is something that you should be able to do. And I'm telling you, the opposition would be hard pressed to run away from this. They would
Yeah.
not be able to. But then you have to be convinced and you have to do it.
It's like
But
a
on the
lot of
other
people.
hand, and
See the poor guy down to the bottom, the really poor guy there, the real farmer, the real poor farmer. He doesn't know these things. He doesn't even understand
Actually.
these things. I mean,
Yeah.
for example, now we'll come back to the taxi driver and the maid. But my maid, for example, she's from a village. She tells me, she says over there they don't even know these things. उनको in Marathi she tells me कि त्यांना काही माहित नाही तिकडे काय होतं. त्यांना फक्त they only want to cultivate their land and make their money and be happy. They don't care about these things. Unfortunately, this is and the politicians, the BJP's politicians who should have gone to all these every single village, literally every single tehsil and taluka and spoken to the people there. I don't think they did it. If they had done it, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, but remember, this was also done during COVID, especially
yeah,
at the
Fair
height
enough.
of the lockdown.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but the strategy was also not there. The strategy and the willingness was
I
also
don't
not
think
there. I
they
agree
even
with you.
had a strategy to do it. Forget
Yeah,
about COVID.
yeah.
I don't think they even had a strategy. They expected Mr.
Yeah.
Modi to do his, monthly broadcast, and but Modi ji ne
That
hab
that
काम
would
कर
be
दिया,
enough.
बस
Yeah,
बात खत्म हो गई.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. But I mean, that's when I bring in that complacency argument as well, right? Modi has been shouldering, and
Yeah.
frankly, so many people have won their elections on Modi's name alone. On some level, it's just that he'll play it off. He'll make it happen.
Uh,
No,
okay, no,
the
no, no.
only good thing here, the only good thing here is that during every national general election, Mr. Modi removes a lot of people. He denies a lot of people tickets. I'm honestly,
He does, yeah.
he does it. He denies a lot of people
He
Yeah.
does it.
tickets. And I only hope that a lot of this, the kachara that is there will go away next election. That better people will come. But the problem is, out of 303 MPs, if you have to select an Aishwan Vaishnav from outside, it tells you exactly
Hmm.
what's the quality of your
Exactly.
MPs.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
No, but the
Hmm.
other thing is also the following. You see, uh, it's not as if that the party organization, in a sense, has become lazy. I think the level of tightness of this organization, as compared to 10 years ago, is much, much more. This is basically what Amit Shah has done, made it tight. However, when it comes to campaigning,
Yeah.
face, I think a lot of local states have been extremely reticent. Local leaders expect that, it will be a wave election, and after Modi has gone, there will be a Raj Tilak ceremony. To a great extent, this was also one of the problems that the Bengal BJP faced. कि कोई
Hmm.
बाहर से अगर Modi and Shah will basically do the job for us, and then I'm going to put my head forward, Raj Tilak lagao. It doesn't happen.
No.
Especially when you have strong regional parties and strong regional leaders. So that is something where I think a lot of things have to be done. You have to find who are
Hmm.
the ones who
Hmm.
have fire in their bellies, who can amplify this organizational readiness tightness to fetch votes. Unless you do that,
Hmm.
the moment Modi, retires from politics, leaves politics, you're going to have a serious, very difficult time. So that I think needs to be done. Needs to be done.
I think
It's,
that's the other thing, right? That's the expectation that has been the opposition strategy so far, is that Modi will one day retire from politics. But this
yeah. I mean, the thing is,
you
the
know,
thing is that they should have a second or third round of leadership. You can't
hmm.
expect someone like Tejashi Surya to be catapulted to the top, even though he's an MP. There are people more
No, he's a
senior to
young
him.
guy. He's a young
Yeah,
guy.
he's a
He's
young guy.
50
There are people
something.
like
Yeah.
Mr. Gadkari or Smriti Irani. These are the people you and I. We have talked about Smriti Irani, but
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
there are people there who are
Fab,
good, who are competent, who need to be promoted, who need to be given that. The BJP,
Yeah.
the party hierarchy, the party across the country will be told, okay,
Hmm.
this is your next rung of leadership.
Hmm. I've always thought
Never
like
mind if
Smriti
Modi is
Irani.
prime minister. Never mind if Mr.
Hmm.
Modi is prime minister. This is your next rung of leadership. Now you need to promote
Hmm.
them. That's not happening here, as far as I can see.
I remember Smriti Irani. She's half Bengali. She speaks Bengali fluently.
He speaks
I
eight
always
languages,
wish
by
that
the
she
way.
had been, yeah, she had been projected in West Bengal because she has that
no.
fire but I guess I mean Amethi is a big
No,
responsibility.
no.
So
Thing is, you see, the
yeah, but
Congress party
it's not
also
that the
knows.
BJP does not have the talent, huh?
The Congress party also knows that this woman, that Smriti Irani, is a dangerous woman as far as
Yes.
the Gandhi family is concerned. So you notice that
Oh, for
every
sure.
ministry she gets into, they start this whole that their sympathetic media will go after her, and then after
Yeah,
some time
yeah.
she's either quietened down and shut up, or she's removed.
Hmm,
I
hmm,
mean,
hmm,
when she
hmm,
became HRD minister, I don't understand why she was removed.
hmm,
I think if she hadn't been removed, a lot of stuff that would have been different in the HRD ministry, but she was removed
hmm,
because I don't know what it was. Maybe they kind of they panicked that she was being targeted. I don't think she's a coward, or
hmm.
she can take it on. She can take these guys on. She
No,
has
no,
the guts to do it.
she can. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
she has the
exactly. I
guts,
don't
no
know.
doubt.
I don't understand why the
No
hell she was moved out, and from the subsequent ministry that she was in.
Yeah,
And now she's
yeah.
in textile, but she has the guts
No,
to
no,
take
she's
on these guys,
only
and that's what
only
worries them.
women and
She's one
child
of the few
affairs
people who
was.
can take them on.
Hmm. Her and of course Yogi Adityanath as
Yeah,
well,
of course.
who also has a pan India appeal and is in a very strong position in Uttar Pradesh. Despite these farmer protests going on in Western UP, Yogi Adityanath has been able to ride that out
Yeah.
and still kind of be projected as somebody who is a possible is a contender in that sense. Uh, you know, um, Dipankar, we had started talking about Captain Amarinder Singh and the fact that he's delighted. He has gone on TV and said that now BJP and I can have a seat sharing arrangement and sweep the elections and bring national security into the focus and all of those things. To be fair to him, even before he quit the Congress, he has been highlighting national security concerns in the state of Punjab, the increase in the drones that have been intercepted, and that seems to be happening fairly often. What do you make of this? I mean, the BJP and the captain going at it together. Do you think the BJP is very closely associated with the farm laws, even though they've been repealed, and the Prime Minister himself has come in and kind of said sorry and all of that? But do you think they'll be able to override it? And does the captain have enough sympathy because of the way he was ousted?
The captain at times is quite. He is from Patiala.
Yeah, I think Dipankar is having some issues with his internet. What's happening today, huh? Mohan, you and I are the only ones who are kind of doing okay when it comes to the internet now.
You should call Ravin Thukral, who was Captain Amarinder Singh's PR manager.
Do you know him?
Yeah, he's a good. We were colleagues in HT long back.
So let's call him now. If you
You should.
can
I
drop
don't
him a
know.
message.
I don't have his number. You'll have to contact him. I don't have his number.
Okay.
But
Is he still
he's very close to Amarinder Singh. I think he'd be the perfect guy for you to come here and talk about Punjab.
with? Hmm,
And
hmm.
he is an expert on Punjab politics. I mean,
Is
and
he
I'm
still
talking
is
of
he
20.
still with
I'm
captain?
talking 20 years back. He was an expert in Punjab politics, so he must be really good today. He knows
Is he still
everything about Punjab politics.
is he still with the captain? Is he still
Yeah,
part
I
of
think so.
captaincy?
I think so. I think so.
Okay, okay.
He
No,
was
like
a he
I
was
mean,
a cabinet. He was on cabinet post in
hmm,
the ministry. I think,
hmm,
or at least Minister of State. I think he was.
hmm.
He was his media advisor.
Hmm, 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 hmm. No, I think this has been today is a day of triumph for Captain Amarinder Singh for sure. I mean, there can be other people and who are feeling, but if you look at it from the political lens, it's definitely something that is very very much has played out in his favor, and that's something. Here, Dipankar is back again and frozen. I don't know what's happening today. It's a terrible day for the internet. But Dipankar, yes, go ahead. Go ahead. You were speaking.
Okay,
Look,
can I take your leave now if you don't mind, because I
Yes,
have to get
thank
to
you
work.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Advaita. Thank you so much for having me. This is the first time I've been on air, and it's quite a
And
scary
and now
experience.
you and now you'll be back, right?
I hope so. I don't know. It was a scary experience to get on air. Thank you. Bye, Dipankar. See you around.
Bye, bye, bye.
Bye
see
bye.
you.
Hmm.
Okay, you see, the fact is, whether or not, whatever the base BJP may have in Punjab, the fact
Hmm.
remains that in rural Punjab, the BJP people had become persona non grata. This was contrived rage. It was building up into something else, and something else, basically, we know what it was. It's a communal separatist movement.
Yeah. Okay, I think again we keep losing him because of this internet
Yeah,
connectivity. Yeah, Professor, we've lost you again. Okay, you're
yeah.
back. You're back.
Okay, let me. With the farm laws gone, you see, this particular contrived rage will be very difficult to sustain. And now with the captain coming in, you see, the captain is a very authoritative figure. He has a statewide appeal. He is from Patiala. He won the
Okay, again, we've lost Professor. I think there is a serious issue. We've only managed to get Mohanji's internet working and being stable, along with Siddharth and Professor Dipankar have both have had issues. Again, this is a viewer show, so if you'd like to come on, please go ahead and. Okay, Vimal is saying turn off the audio camera, then the audio will work. So, Professor, you can turn off your. Okay, Professor's logged out. I guess he'll log back in. We've been receiving a lot of comments. Yeah, that's true, Ush. When you say that similar or graver incidents happen in Rajasthan, Maharashtra, or Kerala, which don't get picked up, that is absolutely true. There is a certain selectivity. Is what we all note, and we saw that most recently with the murder of Sanjeet, who was an RSS Swayamsevak in Kerala. Okay, Professor Dipankar, you're back. In case your internet looks better now, but in case you have an issue, then just switch off your camera and we can listen to you. Go ahead, Professor.
It looks good. You see,
Yeah.
the captain is such an authoritative figure that much of the nonsense he would able to crack down on. Eh, When a person with credibility starts cracking down on nonsense, the BJP may not have that kind of credibility. The captain certainly does. Remember, he has a statewide appeal. He's from Patiala. He won the seat in Amritsar very comfortably in 2014 against a Moti wave against Arun Jaitley.
Okay. This is not working out well for us. Hmm. Yeah, Professor, I think you'll need to.
I'll switch off the
Uh,
camera. So, can you hear me?
Now we can. Now we can.
Yeah. So the camera switch. He basically delivered the state in 2019. In 2014, also they delivered the state in Amritsar. He has a commanding presence.
Hmm. Hmm. No, I
With
think we're
this
having
multi, in
trouble.
this multi,
No, we continue to have trouble with
oh,
Professor's connection, unfortunately, and we are unable to hear him. We will be coming back with a longer show later tonight. We just wanted to do this live to capture some of the sentiment behind this repeal of the farm laws, which, frankly, very few people expected, those in support of the government or those against the government. In light of what is being discussed, there was commentary from our viewers, from our guest today, Siddharth Singh, as you all know, is a roving editor, works with Open Magazine, did a very good essay on his travels in Punjab in February of last year, and tracked how the anatomy of the protest was changing, that it moved from something that was driven by economic means, and then was slowly kind of being shifted into the socio-religious model. And it was being fueled, of course, by political opponents and things of that nature. So quite interesting day today. And we will be back in the evening to discuss this at some length and in some detail. I want to thank you all for joining us on this show, and I appreciate your time. Please like, share, subscribe, and join us for further conversations. Thank you, and have a great day.